Good morning, Trader's Edge with high-tech trading analysis. I get asked a lot if my custom drawing tools that are included in my DrawBar can be utilized in NinjaScript. And the answer to that is absolutely. And I'm not real sure why I've never covered that before, because it's really simple to do. Let me try to demonstrate. I know I'm not going to cover a lot of NinjaScript. I just want to cover drawing tools, drawing a rectangle, drawing a line, drawing text. Okay, so if I want to learn how to do that in NinjaTrader, I would come to NinjaTrader. I would go to Help. I would come to Help Guide. I would do a search. In the search, I might type draw and click search. Drawing. And let's see what the first one is. Draw. What do I want to draw? We want to draw a rectangle. I'll click on draw rectangle. So now they have all of these ways that we can call and draw a rectangle on our chart. And all we're doing is saying draw a rectangle, and then we're giving it some variables to tell it where to start, where to end, what to color it, and so forth. Now the same thing would be for any of your draw objects, line, whatever. So I'm not going to cover a lot of this. All I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a rectangle on the chart. Okay, now another way that you might want to do this, just a simple hint, that right after we type draw a rectangle, if we do a left-hand parentheses, we'll see the different arguments here that allow us to draw that rectangle. We can do this in a lot of different ways. We have an owner, we have a tag, sometimes we have bars ago, sometimes we have time. We have a start Y, an end Y, we have a brush. Sometimes we can do dash styles, all dependent. We'll just click on down, and there's another one. The difference between the first and the second was I was using bars, that's using time. And as I scroll down, I can draw a default rectangle using any one of these ways. So in this case, I can even define the opacity. I can tell it whether I want to draw it on the price panel. This is all a constructor of that rectangle, depending on which one we use. Okay? Now I'm just using the basics of basics. As we should be able to see there, I've got to declare an owner, a tag. Tag is just a text name for the rectangle. Now, this code is being executed on every bar after the last bar on the chart. This is just waiting for the last bar on the chart, and then every bar afterwards it's going to draw a rectangle. Didn't want to do it on every bar of the chart. I think there's 100 days loaded on this. But this is what I'm going to call the rectangle. If I use the same text each time that I call this rectangle is just going to override itself. Up here, I'm declaring 4 variables. Now, I'm only using one in this particular case, but I'm looking at an I bars back. So in this case, when I reach the last bar on the chart, I want to draw a rectangle. I want to draw it I bars back, 20 bars back. Start bars ago, 20. Start Y, I want to draw it at the high of the 20th bar back, I bars back. When do I want to end it? 0 bars ago. So 20 bars ago, I want to take the high and I want to draw it to the current bar. And where do I want to end it? I want to end it at the low, end Y. I want to end it at the low of 20 bars back. So I want to take the high and the low of 20 bars back, draw a rectangle from that point to the current bar. Simple enough, right? We compile the code, we load it on our chart, and we draw a rectangle. Okay, and we'll just take that a little further. Let's draw a line too. So now here I'm just drawing a line 20 bars back. I'm drawing it from the high to the low. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to draw a line from here to put maybe a half of a cross through the rectangle. Code compiled. We reload it. We drew a line from here to here. Okay, this should be as simple as it gets. The point of this whole thing is I want to use an HT rectangle now instead of the default rectangle. And I want to use an HT line instead of the default line. How would I go about doing that? Okay, so there is one thing we have to do before we can start utilizing these custom drawing tools. We have to add the DrawBar to a reference to NinjaTrader so that it can see them all. So while we're in the editor, anywhere in the white space, I'm going to right click. I'm going to come down to references. And here's a list of references that NinjaTrader is using. You might have some of these, you might not have all these. It doesn't, all depends on what you have loaded. In our case, we need to add one. It's going to open up a little folder. It's going to be your NinjaTrader 8 bin custom folder. We're just going to scroll straight down into this folder. We're going to find the DrawBar. We're going to click open, and that's going to add it to the bottom of this list. Then we're just going to click OK. We're going to we can either right click and click compile, or we'll come up here and compile. As soon as we're done compiling, we're good to go. Now, this is super simple, guys. Where we say draw, let's replace it with HTDraw and then put a dot. So normal, I didn't cover that, but if I type draw down here and put a dot, it will automatically, IntelliSense will automatically bring up the default drawing tools that are available for you, right? So now instead of that, we're going to type HTDraw and put a dot. Now, all of these custom drawing tools are now available for you to utilize within NinjaScript. What are we drawing? We're drawing a rectangle, huh? So, where is the rectangle? There it is. HT rectangle. Once I put my left-hand parentheses, we're going to see the available ways that we can draw my rectangle. Now, in most cases, most of these things are going to have at least what is in the defaults, and then maybe a couple more. I'm just going to take this code here. I went about that all the hard way. And I'm going to change this to HT, and I'm going to change this to HT. And I'm going to change this to HT, and I'm going to change this to HT, and now all I'm doing is HTDraw dot, let's make sure it's there, rectangle, same thing, right? Yep. Same thing for line, but they're all available. I'm just going to use the same thing as a default because I know they work. We're just trying to make this simple. All right, we come back to our chart. We reload our chart. And now instead of the default drawing tools, you're using my custom drawing tools. Now, notice that this rectangle is extended all the way to the end and doesn't end at the last bar anymore. Now, that is only because the default template that I have set up, there it is, the default template that I have set up for rectangle has it extended. So the reason why you would use my custom tools is because all of customizations in a rectangle standpoint, if we right click on that, the show dot labels, the show price, the show time, the dollars, all of this is now available for you to utilize in your scripts. Now, how would I do that? Okay, so in this script, we know that if I recompile this, if I reload NinjaScript, it's going to draw it all the way to the end because if I go into, all right, let's just try to explain this. Because if I go into the properties and I look at my templates, I have a default template, and that default template has that rectangle set to automatically extend every time I draw it. Just how that's set up. Normally that would not take place. If I delete if I deleted that default template, now, after we recompile that, we can see that it no longer extends, but I must have the show dot label must be a default in the drawing tool itself. Now that I've drawn these, how do I control some of those, some of my special configurations? What we need to do is when we draw this object, we need to actually declare it, as an object, HT rectangle. So all I'm saying here is HT rectangle, and I'm giving it a name. So this is an HT rectangle, and what it's going to be is whatever I draw here. So now once I've done that, I can come down and type HTR and dot, and IntelliSense is now going to give me the options that are available for this particular object. This object happens to be a rectangle. We might be looking at a line. We might be looking at an XYZD. We might be looking at VWAP. We might be looking at volume profile. All of those drawing tools work the same way. So a lot of what you're looking at here in IntelliSense has nothing to do with the properties that are associated with this particular rectangle, but are just part of NinjaTrader themselves. What you're going to have available for most draw objects with my stuff is if you type is here, you're going to see is alert break, is extended left, is extended right. The is draw, again, and I don't have a specific list at this time, the is global drawing tool is not part of what I've done. That's internal to NinjaTrader and does not set the, and will not work to turn that global and not global. You'll have to complain to NinjaTrader about that. It's an ongoing issue for as long as it's been around. A lot is in is, or we type show. Much is in show as well. The extensions are down here. Now some of these will apply to the fib. Some of them won't apply to some will apply to some will apply, not apply to others. Most of the dot labels that have been standardized throughout the tools would all be here. We can show the dot, the bar range, the labels, the dot range, the risk, the time, blah, 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 blah. If you don't want to show labels, we show labels off. So if I show dot labels, the difference between show dot labels, that is not shown right now, and the other one is, so we're going to turn these around. So the difference is the dot label is going to end up at the start bar, and the show labels is going to end up showing at the end of the rectangle, whether that be extended or whether that not. Now, if I reload this, you'll notice that the dot labels are gone because I just told them to be gone. And the show labels are on because I just told them to be on. Now again, if I just wanted to draw this and say HTR is extended right, and let's turn the dot labels back on. We'll recompile that. We'll reload NinjaScript, and we can now see that the rectangle itself is extended all the way to the right. Our labels are on top and bottom of our rectangle, and we are also showing this dot. Now, again, I could go back, and if I look at our rectangle in the drawing tool, I can go back and all of these, well, I shouldn't say all of these, excuse me. The extend here, extend anchor, last bar, those are not going to be available because you've got to be able to click here on this in order for that to do that. But the extend right, the alerts probably work. You can probably turn those on and off. But remember that if we're dealing with alerts, that particular tab or window has to be in the front, right? If you had a bunch of tabs down here and you weren't on this tab, this alert will not work. All of this should be available to be controlled here. Now, you could probably stop here if you want. You've got the drift. This works for all of the draw objects. I'm going to show a couple more things. Where do I want to go with this? I was going to talk about text, but I think I'm going to skip that for now. But I do want to address a couple other things. So HTDraw, right? And then HTVWAP. Let's go to this. The simplest way is usually the last way, and we need a tag, a bars ago. Okay, so this and a tag. What are we looking at? VWAP. And start bars ago. We're going to go further back than 20. And an end bars ago will come in there, and a brush. Brushes, I think I'm using, what's my background? Because I don't want to see the background of this. But I don't want it to be transparent. Gray, light gray. Let's try that. Okay, here nor there. Let's stick with what we're doing. And there's VWAP. So again, the same thing would apply to VWAP. We could just declare that HT VWAP drawing tool equals HTV equals, right? So we've just assigned this to an object so that now we can use that object to turn on and off the different variables that are available here. So in this case, I'm using show level 1, level 2, level 3, upper 1, upper 2, low. I said level. Show lower 1, lower 2, lower 3, upper 1, upper 2, upper 3. We can turn those off. We can turn the extended off. I think everything on this one, I probably should have included a B underscore for the other one. B underscore meaning bool. Doesn't look like there's anything there. And show, nothing in show. So just gives you an idea of that. Now let's just do HTVWAP volume profile. Do the parentheses. Again, we'll go to the very last one because that'll just be the simplest. And we need the exact same thing. So we do this. And we say VP, and we'll do 100 bars ago. And we'll do 0. Great. Pile this, and we should have a profile right over where we have VWAP. Voila. And then we could do the same thing with that. So regardless of whether we're looking at the rectangle, the line, the text, just some of the things that you might have to be aware of. I just tried to do a text earlier. I kind of cut it out because it didn't work. But the text, if it's not there now, will be in the very next version, has the ability to be it fixed. So I can say text. Now if I drag my chart around, notice how that is fixed right in that place, right there, right. It's not going anywhere. If I drag this text, I can put it here and it's going to stay there forever. Now the only way you can do that in NinjaTrader is to place that in your four corners or the middle of the chart. Now my text is the same text. Okay, so all I have to do is right click on that text and unclick fixed position, and that'll move with the bar now. And that's kind of the reason why it wasn't, because it looks like that I have that fixed as a default. And I was drawing, the fixed was in the default of the text, and I was drawing it, and it wasn't drawing in the right place, and that's why. So just be aware of something like that. You know, I don't want to get too deep into this, but I do want to show the ability of how easy this is. You just take any one of your default draw objects and change it to HT in the front and HT in the back, and we can change any of our existing code real easy. All right, guys, I'm done. Be safe.